people of the internet, Ian, also the Freedom Astrologer, once again here. And this time I have a very special, very unique piece of freedom, and you can see I'm not here alone. I am sitting here with a very unique astrologer, very gifted astrologer, very, I would say, deep astrologer who has gone into depths I'm going into, but I'm not close to yet. And she's going to be discussing with me a very important topic, I think, in modern and in traditional astrology. And we're going to be talking about a very special topic, which is called freedom or liberation from the Zodiac. And welcome, Ola. I'm glad you're here with us and with me, with with this very weird, I would say, topic. Not a lot of people are talking about it, but you are the one who, let's say, opened my eyes in a lot of ways with this theme and topic. And yeah, let's jump in.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. And thank you so much for having me. Thank you for your time. And I think that we have some really important stuff to talk about tonight. Just like you opened up, very important topic, the liberation from the Zodiac. Why do we even talk about it? Why should we think about it when we all have free will? Or do we?
That's a good question. Yeah, right there.
Right there. So I probably, as many people have noticed, there is obviously a group of people who follow astrology and they are very into the topic and they have quite an extensive knowledge of it. However, majority of the world, unfortunately, due to astrology not having the best marketing over thousands of years, which was obviously on purpose, they not only don't follow astrology, but they totally discredit it. And so what comes with that is obviously a claim that astrology has no bearing on them and they have free will, they have their own choices, and that's just how life is. But I would absolutely invite all of those people and anybody else to go and get a astrology reading from perhaps from Ian or any other astrologer that they might choose. And you might be very surprised about how many of the choices, how many of your natural predispositions are actually already in your chart. So is there truly a free will, or is it that what we consider to be expression of free will is actually predetermined by astrological factors, which can be decoded from your chart? And that's really the crux of the discussion today, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Okay, so guys, I was in literally in a place where I was literally in that space, what Ola just mentioned, when I was even starting with astrology. And I had to let an astrologer prove myself that astrology works. And I used a very also, let's say, well-known astrologer to do that. For me personally, one of my first teachers, Lara Tuncheva, and she really, rocked my world, I would say. And from that point onwards, that free will, discussion, it opened up a new layer, definitely for me. And I was like, okay, so which or what actually is my free will? What am I born with? Am I manipulated by something? Is somebody creating something somewhere? Is somebody controlling me? All of these things actually started opening up in a lot of different ways. And you, I think, have opened, in a very few interactions, even in short interactions we've had about these matters, you opened up a lot of, let's say, ideas that I didn't even know about. I didn't even know how to think about these things, and these are the things we're going to be going more deeply into today as well.
Yes, I think that anybody who is looking into astrology, and I would really, really recommend to anyone to have a look into the origins of astrology and actually have a look into what the ancient texts, because that's where we have the knowledge from, what do they speak about the zodiac itself, the origins of the zodiac. And the interesting thing is that you can find pretty much very similar accounts of the same story, regardless of geography that you investigate. So the story in Vedas, the story in the Babylonian creation myth, the story in the Hermetica, the Emerald tablets, they follow really, really the same suit. Mm-hmm. And I think it's perhaps something that doesn't get spoken about enough, because I think we dive into the astrology, we just go straight into the doing, right? Yes. But it's not that often that we actually look into where does the zodiac even come from. What is the origin? Why do we even have astrology? Where is it even coming from? So I think what I would like to do, what I prepared for today, is to show you a little bit about the zodiac itself as a stories from different ancient texts, which you will see a resemblance between them. And I think it's quite fascinating what we might discover tonight.
It was, let's say, it was tremendously fascinating when you sent me the information, and I was like scratching my head. And even when we're talking about this, a lot of, doors for me, the mental doors blew open. I was like, oh my God, I felt some of this. I kind of like maybe knew some of it, but I didn't have, the confirmation that, thousands and thousands of years ago, some of these things were already written, and I had no idea, and you brought it to my attention. And I'm going to share the screen with you guys as well, so you can see. Ola will obviously do her own thing, and will say many more things, but you can a little bit follow along with the slides we're going to share with you as well.
Perfect.
And there they are.
Excellent. So to begin with, Enuma Elish, what is it? It's the Babylonian creation myth. It's the Mesopotamian origin creation myth. It's been written down, of course, this is a bit of a speculation, but anything around 1200 BC, 1700 BC. There are some accounts that even quote earlier origin. That's when it was written. However, when does it actually come from? That's another story. Obviously, probably much earlier than that. And so the name Enuma Elish, which actually comes from the opening words of the poem as it is. It's been written down on these tablets, and it actually describes a story of the Marduk. Some of you might have heard about it. Marduk and Tiamat fight between the gods and the dragon Tiamat. Whereby Marduk is the victor of the fight, and across these 7 tablets, there are 7 tablets of Enuma Elish. He basically does the deed of setting up the zodiac, which is very specifically described. He appoints the gods who are in charge of destinies. And as you can see, for the 12 months, he fixed 3 stars. He's put in place the moon, the sun, and this is really the beginning. So we are touching here on a quite a prehistory, which is really, really very important, because as we're gonna move forward, you're gonna see why what's been actually done is a certain mechanism of the zodiac that we are under influence of until today.
Finally, some freedom.
So we need to begin where we need to begin. We need to know where we are to escape it, right? First.
Totally.
So in the, I'm just wondering if you can maybe move to the next slide, where we have the talks about the creation of man. Of course, I don't want to go into that right now, whether that was the actual creation of man or not. Of course, the victors write the history, right? However, what I would like you to pay attention to here is that, so there are very specific references made in the text to the gods being appointed. 7 gods of destinies were appointed to give decisions. Obviously, this is a natural reference to the 7 planets.
Guys, I just want to mention for the more modern astrologers, from a traditional point of view, we still have, 7 main ones, and the Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, for those of you who don't know, they're not really, talked about in ancient traditional things.
They were actually aware of them in the ancient traditions. However, they didn't really use them in that way for the for casting the zodiac. And what also is quite interesting here is that it's already hinted that there's going to be a mechanism put in place around the zodiac of such advancements that it is not to the human understanding to grasp it. And actually, humans will be imposed with obligation to be in service of the gods. And actually, the gods that we're talking about here is, this is a little bit of a longer story, but the point is that there's been something imposed onto humans as a retribution for someone else's actions. So we are basically born with a task to do towards the gods.
Nice.
The interesting thing is that, as I mentioned before, you can find references to basically the same story across a variety of ancient texts. And one of the other accounts, Hermetica, which is the ancient text attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, or the Thoth, which one is Hermes is the incarnation, as it's believed. It might have been the incarnation of Thoth. The text itself probably written by a variety of scribes who just attributed to Hermes. However, Hermetica has actually a very, very detailed account of how the zodiac was created and what was the purpose of it. So if we maybe jump to the next. And there things get absolutely clear that we have 7 administrators who regulate destiny. We're talking the planets. So there were 5 visible planets and 2 luminaries that were, as we might imagine, caught in a net cast above us, which were all working within this mechanism, astrological mechanism.
Guys, I want to say something. The words that you're seeing right now on the screen as well, these are translated from ancient texts. Remember that when you, let's say, dissect the information, and when something so big hits your brain or your consciousness, it sometimes takes a little bit of time to settle in. At least for me, and I think a lot of people are like that as well. So just, let it set in, watch it a few times, and let's continue.
Absolutely, and of course, this is a lot of new information for a lot of people, and of course it can be perhaps sounding a little bit controversial. The texts are there. Obviously, the interpretation you may leave for yourself. I would say that the texts were there for a reason, and they give a very, very clear account of how things were done. As you can see, The celestial powers called the gods, they preside over the world. That's not even hidden. It's in plain sight. The god that we are seeing here, I think we should question Atum, his name, which is obviously just like a nickname. Who is this god? Is it really the god? And what do we really mean when we say the god? Is it a god, or is it someone who is positioning himself to be the god, which is obviously something that we have seen in the history. And so on one side we have Marduk. Here we have someone under the name of Atum, which, to be fair, when you understand and you go detail into the text, it's just the same. It's the same persona here. So it's the story is just being repeated. Mm-hmm. So this great Atum wished for there to be a creature to appreciate his awesome creation. So you can see that this doesn't really sound like the source, right? Like the loving, true type of energy that we might have been created from. It's like we spoke before. It sounds a little bit narcissistic.
It does. It does. I wanted to highlight this for a second. And guys, this is, it does sound a little bit narcissistic, and I would say even, some of these, you can see even some of these energies, let's say, play out in, if you look at maybe some of the bigger, maybe entrepreneurs or leaders in the world, you can see some of these energies, I would say, play in them. So I'm appreciative how these, these texts almost translate into the modern world as well. I wanted to say that as well. Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, and I think that a lot of you might be thinking, well, then who are you even talking about, right? So who are these gods? Who are they? Like, where is it even coming from? Because you need to remember that no real source of love would want to in any way take away your freedom and keep you in any way controlled. But that's exactly what was done to us. So that can't have been done by the real God or some supreme being that we might call the source, or however we might call it, right? So those that call themselves gods obviously have very little to do with divinity. And this is the kind of environment that we are looking at. So of course this might be another story about who are they? Who are they? What kind of race is it? And in Enuma Elish, the name is Anunnaki. In Hermetica, the reference is to Atum, but obviously there is a race. We're talking about a race other than humans that, according to the ancient text, has come down to Earth, invaded the Earth, and basically enslaved humans. And unfortunately, the outcome of which we are feeling until today. And that's pretty much the conversation today, because what you perceive as freedom is very often just an expression of what's been already predetermined for every single one of us.
And this, guys, might be really hard to hear. It was for me. I'm also in a, let's say, a very student type role here. I'm literally taking in as much as Ola has to offer and say. Obviously, I have my own, ideas, mind still going, still gears are going, and I'm going deep, and I want to understand it more. But the bigger topic, let's say, if you're there and you're triggered by it, maybe you don't believe, yada yada yada. Open your mind, open your being, open your energy, open yourself to this information to understand that the bigger also the topic we're also dissecting here is freedom and liberation from enslavement or the things that we thought were predetermined for us during this lifetime. I want to leave that as well to this.
Absolutely, and I was lucky enough to have contact with variety of different astrology schools. I've studied the Vedic astrology. I've also looked at the Babylonian astrology, at the Greek astrology. So there's an array, including obviously the sidereal, the Western. There is an array of different techniques or methodologies here, which comes with its own mythology, which actually there's a lot of resemblance between all of them. So different geographies, and we're talking thousands of years ago, with no internet, in totally different geographies. Whoever was putting, to stone or to paper accounts of what was happening at the time, they were telling the same story. So how is that possible, right? I mean, I don't really want to sort of set anyone off right now, but I just want you to be open-minded and just to think.
I think that's very, very big and very key, and this is like maybe you guys are there, like very similar to me. I always want to almost verify it for myself to be sure. And
Yeah.
I'm literally going as much as I can, going deeper in these texts and doing my best to learn as much as I can to kind of like literally verify what Ola just said. Because if this is in every place, in every mythology, in every geographical location, guys, the probability of the truth or it being the truth, it increases exponentially. Yeah. Do you want me to move on?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's zoom in specifically. What are we really talking about here? In the words of the maker himself, I will build the Zodiac, a secret mechanism in the stars linked to unerring and inevitable fate. Well, that does not sound very appealing, does it? Where our lives will be controlled from birth to final destruction. I mean, there is not even allegory. It's just that plain and simple. Will be controlled by the hidden workings of certain mechanism that's been put in place. So, of course, you probably might be working, what is this mechanism? How does it work? Well, the thing is that probably these races, the race that we're talking about here is very, very advanced. It's far beyond our comprehension. We're talking hundreds and thousands and 100,000 years back, where the technology that they brought together with them is far outside of anything that we can probably even today understand. So I have no idea. I would love to know, but I have no idea how did they do it? How did they set it up? I think that if we had known, we would have already tried to do something with it. The problem is that it is still there and it's still working. And the very workings of the mechanism have been very, very clearly described. It is man's lot to live his life according to the fate determined for him. Well, I don't like the sound of that. But I can guarantee you that if you look at my chart, there's a lot of things there that describe exactly everything that I'm telling you right now about, and even why am I telling you about it, which I'm actually enjoying a lot. But, I struggle to call it my choice. However, there is a silver lining, and I absolutely love it. Few can escape their fate. Well, that's maybe not the bit of an anticlimax on the few, but few can escape their fate or guard against the terrible influence of the zodiac. So actually, Hermes tells us that there is a way out of it. There is a way to liberate yourself. However, hardly anybody will be able to do that. Of course, remember this was written thousands of years ago, so the level of consciousness was also different at the time. And this is really where the consciousness and the awakening, as we know it, so often spoken about, that's what comes to play. Furthermore, he specifically says that we should make it a duty in our life to liberate ourselves from it. And he goes on to actually explain the mechanism. You know, why is it so important to understand exactly how are we being controlled and what is really going on? And that is actually to do with reincarnation, because I think that probably everybody here heard the reincarnation, what it is and how it works. However, perhaps it's not very clear that what the ancient texts say is that we get caught in a reincarnation loop, but just on the earth. So this mechanism that's been put in place keeps recycling the souls, but it doesn't let them escape out of here unless certain conditions are met. And again, these conditions are described by Hermes further. It's down to the purity of the soul, but really, what does that mean? It probably means the awakening, the ability to understand what is it that's going on here. So basically, it becomes an art to die, how to die, right? So that you don't get back on this reincarnation loop back into earth, but you are able to choose where is it that you want to go. But in order to choose, you need to be able to know where is the exit from here. So you see, as Hermes states, those that are stained with incurable ignorance, what does it mean? Well, it obviously means that those that haven't gone through the process to awaken, to understand the mechanism, to even learn about the mechanism, those hurl it down to the storms and whirlwinds, where the soul is eternally tossed between sky and earth. That's the reincarnation loop that he's talking about. So it is part of this liberation that we're talking about, is also knowing all these mechanisms that seems to be created for us. Of course, if you don't feel that this resonates, that's fine. However, it is hidden in variety of ancient texts, and of course, you know, nobody has a proof, 100% proof what goes on after we die, and to kind of prove it exactly what happens and where do you go and how do you get out of here and exactly what you see. I'm just here to give you the accounts from the ancients as they obviously try to warn us and try to inform us. If we perhaps jump to the next one. Mm-hmm. So this is where Hermes himself gives us the advice on how to free ourselves. And he says he's very strict here. He talks very clearly that unless one liberates from the ignorance, rips the shackles of decay, and awakens, wake up your sleeping soul, then there is really no way to escape the zodiac or escape this mechanism that's been put in place. No one can be saved until he is born again. That's an absolutely beautiful quote that actually resonates. Also, it has parallels to what Mary Magdalene speaks about in the Gnostic text, in the Gnostic Gospels, when she says that if you do not resurrect in life after you die, you will not be able to get to the kingdom of heaven. And this is basically about getting to this knowledge. because knowledge is the key. It's your starting point to liberation, right? So of course we can spend time working with the astrology, working with the zodiac, but I think it's more important to understand that there's been a prison built around us.
And that prison being the zodiac as well, as I understand.
That's exactly what it is. But I think that, you see, our lives, hardly anybody ever thinks. First of all, it's been a purposeful crusade to remove astrology from sciences that are to be trusted. Mm-hmm. And of course, that is, everything behind it is premeditated, because those who would like to keep us enslaved, obviously they do not want us to ever find out how the enslavement works, or even about the enslavement itself. So
to keep us in that same loop constantly.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And obviously, therefore, sciences like astrology, which used to be the queen of all sciences, is ridiculed, right? It's, I mean, how many people, I think that right now we're getting to a point where more and more people are starting to wake up, and they obviously start searching, and this is one of the stops that they make, which is absolutely beautiful. But I think that the point is not to sort of, not to get too comfortable at this in this place, because the whole point is to actually liberate ourselves, including from astrology, including from the zodiac. The astrology is just the key to decode it, but ultimately claim back the free will through the consciousness, through the expansion of the consciousness, and through understanding where is it that we actually have been placed, and what are the mechanisms that have been put above us, around us. This must be a part of our journey here.
So would you say, I think you mentioned it before to me, that one of the, let's say, the first steps, we can put different numbers on them, but maybe one of the first steps is to become aware of how the zodiac actually influences you, in order to actually be even, to have the possibility to be liberated from it later on.
Absolutely. I mean, you cannot really escape a prison unless you know you're in it, right? You don't even know what you're working with here. So I genuinely feel that it's really, really helpful to understand your own chart. Whether you do it because you already have the knowledge yourself, whether you need the help of astrologer, just get a reading and just to see for yourself how much of you, what you think are your choices, your preferences, your hobbies, are actually already written and can be read by someone that knows nothing about you. So where does it come from, right? So the interests that we have, the hobbies that we have, the issues that we have, the problems that we have in relationships, the problems that we have in childhood, all of that is already there. And I think that the next step, once you have done it, the next step is to really apply that ability to be present, observant of self. Because how do you change anything if you don't even know about it, right? I mean, I think that quite a lot we believe that we have certain faults or certain behaviors, certain reactions, and that's just how it is, how we are. Mm-hmm. But at some point, when you become aware of them, you can sort of take the wheel back into your hands, not let the vehicle be just run by itself, right? I mean, you are the driver. You need to be the driver, but in order to be the driver, you need to know what you're dealing with and where is it coming from.
Guys, I think Ola just hit the nail on the head, and I want to take a couple of pieces from my own, understandings of this as well to kind of make it even more full. Is, it's not that it just is, and it's just there, the zodiac. It's almost like the way in my mind I understand it, it's we're meant to grow out of it. We're meant to grow
Yeah.
towards something higher, towards something bigger than this, what this fixed, seemingly, I would say seemingly fixed thing says about us, says about our problems, like Ola said, the childhood stuff, everything. We're meant to grow past it. It doesn't mean like you have sun here and there. It doesn't mean that that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
Or
It's not a life sentence, is it?
it's not very good. It's not a life sentence, guys. It's your duty. It's your. I would say even it's like maybe duty is a good word here. It's your duty to go and grow further, higher, better, more. Do better than this, I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we are not slaves to the zodiac. We will no longer be slaves to the zodiac. I think this is the time that we say no longer, we say no more. We understand exactly where we are, and we are starting to take the steps to liberate, to get out of the influence. So what does that really mean in practical terms? Well, it means to take responsibility for yourself, to take responsibility for your traumas, for anything that ever happened to you. If you have, for example, relationships problem, it will show up. It will show why you have them. When you understand the reasons for that, why do you, for example, you cannot find the right person, or so you think. You keep changing partners and nothing is working out. I can guarantee you it will be possible to nail it down why it is like that, and where is it actually happening, and etc. And that's just an example. But the point is that once you've become aware, once you are told this is what's happening, this is what's actually driving in the driving seat of your life, you can take the control back. And I think that when you apply the being present, being observant, seeing that every single day when you have a certain situation, you can actually choose how do you react to it. So that's when you grow, right? I mean, you basically switch off from the autopilot mode to a decision mode, an active, every single day, every single hour decision mode. And you kind of, because there is a bit of a matrix going on here, right? So you kind of make a glitch in the matrix, and suddenly things loosen up and they don't work the same because the autopilot mode is turned off.
Yeah, that's beautiful, guys. I want to just, for you out there listening, please take this, listen to this, let it sink in, because I want to bring one example as well, because a lot of people who come to me even come with the question of, will I ever even have a partner? They literally come with that very specific question, and I'm like, yes. Every time, I don't even have to look at the chart. I said, yes, you will have a partner, but the problem is you need to make certain changes. You may need to make certain choices. You need to start making practical, everyday life, little changes to your beliefs, the way you act, the way you are in a relationship. You need to grow as a human, as a man, as a woman, in order to, attract, to be with a person, because, being in a relationship, I mean, that's not easy, I would say, in my case, actually, and it requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of detachment. It requires a lot of thinking, being, feeling, being vulnerable, all of these things, and again, growing as a human being. So please don't look at an aspect and say, because of this aspect or because of this thing, I can't be in a relationship, or I can't have something in my life.
Absolutely. And you said exactly the spot on, hits the nail on the head, because when you are aware of, okay, I have this aspect, or okay, I have this position, then you start taking charge. Okay, I have that, but it doesn't define me. Okay, I was born with Saturn conjunct the sun. Well, but I'm taking the control over that now because I'm aware of that. I know how it dictated my life so far, but now I come off the autopilot mode, and now every time a situation presents itself where that dynamic is about to play out again, I respond differently. Or I work with myself so much and I look through the reasons for why certain events are happening so that they stop happening. And they do not have to repeat anymore because I take control over. You see, your chart is not just a chart, it's a representation. It's an encoded representation of something that's in your subconscious, in your genetics, through your line to your ancestors. Now we're touching on the deep stuff. We're gonna go on the original sin, which is spoken about by Yahweh, right? Which is, I'm not even gonna go there who that might be compared to the text we're seeing today. But he talks about the curse, right, put on Adam and Eve for eating the apple from the tree, from the forbidden tree, which was that until the third or the fourth generation, their children, grandchildren will be punished. So what does that mean in real terms? Well, it actually means that we carry in us, in our genetic materials, and they will show up in your chart, things that are not even yours. They came from up the tree, from your ancestors, from your family further up. So it's really, really interesting to look into that, to decode it. Okay, where does it come from? It is literally represented in your chart, and then you break that. Whatever runs in your family, well, it runs out today.
Exactly.
With me, right?
That's a huge thing, guys. That what Ola just said, because if you finally become aware of those deeper family lineage stuff, you're the first one, most likely, who's becoming aware of that. So you, again, can make the conscious choice of, okay, it might be a struggle, it might be hard work, but I'm going to break it. I have help, I ask for help, I use help, I grow as a human myself, so I can do it, later on myself as well. So, but the very important thing is like becoming aware, and astrology, I think, is a beautiful thing to become or to use to become aware of these patterns.
Absolutely. And how I see astrology, I think that our role as an astrologer has evolved or has changed over the millennia, and it has moved from being the observer of the sky and the interpreter of what the omens say to being the guide on the journey of freedom, to actually facilitate the liberation of the zodiac, not to tell you how the mechanics of it perfectly work and what's going to happen for you. When I give my readings, and of course we can have a look at the next year outlook, etc., some conjunctions, but I always finish the reading saying that I hope that none of it comes true for you, because I really, really wish you to take full control over your destiny, over your life choices, and to live it according to you.
I have to say something right now, because I felt very alone, because what you just said was something I kept saying in my videos. I kept telling to other astrologers, we need to do this, we need to be, freedom givers, basically, or helpers to give other people freedom. And there were like crickets, basically, because, I don't know, maybe it's now starting to come, and more astrologers are starting to wake up to that it's not basically you describing the prison to the client or the person. It's the way out of that prison.
Exactly.
To guide them through. And I'm really glad you're speaking about this. I don't feel alone anymore.
No, absolutely. And this is one of the things, or probably the biggest thing that we connected on, because if Ian didn't steal the best title for an astrologer, I would have been using it myself. So I had to come up with something else. But that is absolutely correct. You know, that is absolutely correct. I think that it's just signal of the times as well. The Age of Aquarius. We're standing right now at the gate to the Age of Aquarius. And you know that the energy is shifting from the Piscean age to the Aquarius. This is the age not only of wisdom, knowledge, but this is the age of being able to apply the wisdom, the knowledge to really, really grow your consciousness. And obviously liberation, that is the theme of Aquarius, the freedom, right? I mean, he is the one ruled by Uranus. He's the rebel. Rebel from what? From anything that limits, anything that tries to dictate something. I mean, that's the rebellion spirit, right? That's the rebellious spirit. So I think that we have all the tools, even from the planets themselves, to actually help us escape the very them.
Guys, I think this is a really good, tone or note to start ending this thing, the freedom from, or liberation from the Zodiac we did for you guys. Guys, if you want to, contact Ola or get a reading with her, do recommend it. She will, even, in our interactions, you've challenged me in a lot of ways, and I have grown already so much. And I will leave the links and everything in the description box below, guys. Please do that. Also, let us know in the comments below what you think about it. How are you reacting? I would personally love to know what it does for you, what it makes you feel, the thoughts that are coming up. And hopefully we will do more of these, and we will go even deeper into the traditional ancient secrets that Ola has her hands and feet very deeply in. I don't know, do you have any final parting words, or?
I thank you so much, guys, and thank you for your patience and for being with us. I think that especially as we are entering the Aquarian age, the age of investigation, of asking questions, not the blind faith that we were subjected to for 2000 years. I think it is our birthright to know, and our call and duty to act. And I really, really believe that there is a lot of wisdom hidden. It's scattered, it's fragmented, and it's hidden away in different astrologies. This is why I've been working with variety of different astrologies, and I combine them together. So I really, really invite you to have a look for yourself. It is the time of investigation over belief. So please do have a look. Please have a look into your own charts as well. And I really, really hope that nothing that's in your chart is no longer valid.
Guys, wishing you a lot of freedom, wishing you liberation and freedom from the Zodiac, and a lot of freedom in your life in general. Thanks for being with us, and see you again soon. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ian.